we're here for football is what Woody Johnson said yesterday when the Jets owner was asked about the Washington football team investigation. And I would pay a lot of money to see the owners actually play football. I really would. I said that at some other point over the past 24 hours, maybe on PFT Live, maybe it was on a radio appearance. But I would pay good money to watch the 32 owners playing 11-on-11 football. But no, they were there for the business of football, and they were given the business by one of their own. Someone has broken ranks, as the case may be. Broken ranks, Chris Sims, not breaking. Broken. I can't. There's nothing I can do to fix it once it's out of my mouth. Anyway, here's what came out of Mark Davis's mouth earlier today when he was asked whether he believes there should be transparency when it comes to the Washington football team investigation.
Do you want to see it?
Probably, yeah. I think that there should be. Yeah.
Did you like your
especially with some of the things that were, charged? Yeah, I believe so. I think people believe that is very good, especially the people that were, quote, victims.
I have to say this. With the backpack and the way he was sitting in that chair, he looks like the kid who had to stay after school because he said something he shouldn't have said, and he's sitting in the chair outside the principal's office waiting for mom to pick him up. That's what he looked like. He's waiting for mom to show up and get him after he served time in detention because he said something smart to the teacher after the teacher said something about his haircut, no doubt. But look, I respect the fact that Mark Davis is willing to say what needs to be said. I mean, because they're producing this united front. We're not giving any more information. That's it. No. And one of the 32 is saying, yeah, we should. And even though there's 31 others saying, no, we shouldn't, the power of the one is incredibly strong because what that does, it gives oxygen to the effort of folks like me, like you, like others in the media, like Congress, to say this stuff needs to be transparent because one of your own is going against his interests and saying this information needs to come out. I was very encouraged and happy to see Mark Davis say what he said.
Yeah, well, I think it especially makes sense given that, again, he and his franchise are kind of the only ones that have been demonstratively punished by the Washington football team investigation. And so when you have to get rid of your head coach in the middle of the season, a season that to that point had been pretty successful, I think that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that Mark Davis would want everything to be transparent here so that he is not the only one who's really severely affected by an investigation that ostensibly had nothing to do with him or his franchise. So I've always kind of wondered, would it be him that comes out and says, yes, we need to see everything. We need to have a written report here of some sort from this investigation because of the way things transpired with John Gruden. But I also think it's going to be interesting to see if any other owner decides to side with him. I mean, it's not like Mark Davis is one of the big power brokers in the league. It's not like he really looks like a big power broker when he's sitting there in his starter jacket and backpack in a chair looking like, as you just said, a kid that is waiting for his mom after detention. All right, so we'll see, I think, who else will side with him, if anyone. But it does make a difference that you have at least one NFL owner who is saying this because of the efforts of, like you said, people in the media and also Congress to get it to the bottom of everything that happened with the Washington football team.
We posted a story just before the show began. There's an interview of Representative Raja Krishnamoorthy, one of the two individuals who signed the letter that was sent to Roger Goodell last week from the U.S. House Oversight and Reform Committee. WUSA-TV interviewed Representative Krishnamoorthy, and some strong stuff. Look at PFT. We don't have the clip because I didn't ask for it because I just found out about it literally 45 minutes ago. But he was disturbed by Roger Goodell's comments from Tuesday night because on one hand you say we're not producing any additional information, and then on the other hand Goodell says we're going to be cooperative with Congress. You can't reconcile the two, Myles. You can't say Stonewall has been built, nothing more is being released, when Congress has said we want more. And this idea that they have told some of the former employees or current employees, people who came forward who wanted to be protected, that there's this broad brush where nothing is going to come out. None of the information is going to be released. None of the specifics, none of the facts, none of the findings as to the things that happened that resulted in the very strongly worded conclusions that were promulgated by the NFL on July 1. It's too much. They're going too far, and it's too obvious that they're trying to cover up something big. And I mentioned in the story that I just posted, folks around the league are still buzzing about this, and somebody who isn't directly involved in the investigation but is very connected to the league generally said, I would say it's even bigger than you think it is by way of what they're hiding. And Congress is going to keep on him, and Representative Krishnamoorthy, Myles, said that if they don't give us what we want, we have the tools to compel the production of documents and to compel live testimony. So we'll see. They have until next Thursday, I believe, to respond to the letter. We'll see what the NFL has to say. But it's one thing to ignore us. Right. It's another thing to ignore Congress. I'm used to being ignored by the NFL. Congress isn't, and we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah, and, you can't just ignore Congress. You just can't. That's the way these things work in this country. So I just feel like if it is, bigger than we know or may think or any of these things, then Congress should be involved, right? Because that means that they're actually going to be able to get to the bottom of it. Whereas, in the media, sometimes we don't have the tools to do all those things. And I think what the congressman said is absolutely right. They have ways of compelling documents, of compelling live testimony that we in the media just don't have. And so I think based on all of the things that we already know, these things need to come out, right? If there was this, couple of paragraphs summation of what was found from the investigation that we saw in July, there just is so much more that we need to know. And I just feel like if you're one of these victims and you only see 2 paragraphs out of what was a months-long investigation for something which is the Washington football team culture that went back a really long time, between Dan Snyder's ownership and the presidency of Bruce Allen, there should be more that we know from this, right? Why is it that Tanya Snyder has to take over? We don't really know. It's just some amorphous blob of, Dan Snyder was in charge and now he probably shouldn't be, but he still kind of is, but he's really not. And now he's not representing the team at the owners' meetings and all these different things. We just should be able to get to the bottom of this. And I think that's what the victims deserve. And I think the public should know just as a whole because of the importance of the NFL in American society.
The reality is that the 2 paragraphs you mentioned, when you read them, and we have quoted them at PFT, because I wasn't sure when the commissioner was talking yesterday about a summary of findings. What is the summary of findings? I thought that I had found it in the long release that the NFL published on July 1. I asked the league, what is the summary of findings? And they agreed it was the 2 paragraphs that we read earlier today on PFT Live, and you can find the story at PFT. They're very troubling. It is a lot of strong stuff, conclusions reached by the commissioner based upon the information that was obtained from Beth Wilkinson. Strong stuff. So whatever led him to come to that conclusion, whatever led her to communicate to him in the kind of language that led to that conclusion, it's serious stuff. It's big stuff. And some way, somehow, it needs to come out. And the anonymity of those who actually requested it. That's the other thing that's offensive about this, Myles. They haven't told us how many people requested anonymity. It could be 1. It could be 2. It ain't all of them. We know it's not all of them. And you can't say, well, everything is... Think about how offensive that should be to the person of average intelligence. Because some percentage below 100, probably well below 100, wanted anonymity as it relates to their identity and the things that they said in their name to the investigation, that we're not giving you anything. Nothing. It's all going to be secret, except the stuff that we used to take out John Gruden. Other than that, it's all secret. It stinks. I've seen plenty of things in 20 years of covering the league that stink. This is the stinkiest stink that I have had stink up my nose, Myles.
Oh, okay? That's you got there on that last thing.
I tried to figure out how to make the last stink.
Yeah,
but I had
to stick the stink.
I finally stuck the stink.
Yeah, yes. There you go. But yeah, no, it does. It stinks to high heaven, right? And I think that what you're saying is true. Even if there's somebody who wanted some anonymity, it's not like you can't just black out somebody's name or say victim 1 or victim 2 or whatever it happens to be. There are certainly ways of covering up folks' identity if that's what they want, and then still releasing the information. So I think you're right. Like, it is insulting to the person of average intelligence.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.